Hi and welcome to Tech Horizons. My name's Madeline Skillen. I'm the Regional Marketing Manager at Procore Technologies, and today we'll be delving into the very interesting topic of change management and tech implementation. I'm joined by esteemed guest Salpie, Head of Product Management at WakeCap. Hi Salpie, it's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
Hi Madeline, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Salpie, you've had an extremely distinguished career over the last 20 years. I'd love to kick off the conversation by just maybe outlining some of those milestones during that period of time.
There's different aspects and different challenges and turning points in my career. I think that, first of all, time was on my side when I started. And construction technology and so many of the different technologies we see today was still just a luxury or a good to have in a lot of the companies. So I got to see how things evolved over the years, almost 19 years now. And I think that some of the achievements that really helped me move forward is being in a male-dominant industry, being the only female at the time. It had a lot of challenges, and I used to get people saying, like, why are you sending us a female to this project, especially if it was like a remote project in the desert, and turning that into, why didn't you send Salpie? Why isn't she here? That was a big milestone, understanding that I could make a difference, or realizing that I could make a difference. And we could do it, and there was nothing that was beyond our capabilities as women. I was so lucky to be mentored by Zuhair Haddad. He was the CIO of the company I was working for, and he was a visionary. He was one of the pioneers, and he believed in me, and he believed in the whole initiative and the whole change that was happening in construction technology, and that also made a big difference in me staying for this long and being persistent. One of the things that I also loved about my journey is the mentorship, being able to mentor such young and great minds, especially now that I see them, in their own careers in the industry. It's brought me so much pride to see these people grow and learn so much. That's in a nutshell.
I love that, because I think sponsorship has been so critical to my career thus far as well, and part of that is maybe because I am a woman in a male-dominated industry, so there's some definite synergies there that I see, and mentorship as well is so important. And I think one of the great things is that when you've realized the benefit of being mentored, and then you go through your career, you proactively go to seek to mentor others, to pass on the baton, so to speak.
Exactly. A very good friend of mine, which I also met through work, he told me once, after we were on site and we were doing like long nights where I was trying to teach him about, what we need to do. And he told me, saying in Arabic, he said, "Man allamani harfan asbahtu lahu abdan," which translates in a nicer way to, if you teach me one letter, I will be forever in your debt. So teaching and mentoring, as you said, it goes a long way, in getting also the different initiatives and change into the industry.
In terms of change then, and what you've seen over the past 19, 20 years of your experience, how do you think those projects that you were sent to have really started to embrace change more in the more recent years?
I think that a big part of change management and the evolution of the companies, it had a lot to do with gradual change. There's no brute force in construction. If you come and you challenge one of the site engineers and you tell them you have to do things this way, it doesn't work. So it's about gradual change. It's about reward versus punishment. And just kind of moving away from the traditional methods by showing them the value in what you do. So if you are solving a pain for these companies, if it's a small project, if it's a mega project, there's so many pains to solve. So if you show them the value of this change, as well as a lot of companies now have started opening up innovation departments. There's mandates even, from owners. There's so many different contributing factors that I've seen things evolve. Even industry-wide standards and mandates like BIM have brought these projects a long way.
That's great to hear that. I think there's the wider support then to evoke that change by what you're saying in terms of the mandates, but also at board level, people being more proactive in trying to realise that you have to prove value before you get internal buy-in. A lot of the time, change is unnerving, and that's because of data. Yeah. And people often talk about data being something that's very complex, especially in construction. It's not that we have a loss of data. We have a lot of it, in fact, but we're not managing it potentially as efficiently as we could. So I guess my question is, how can companies ensure that data is collected more efficiently? And indeed, how does this relate to change management as well?
This is a topic that really I'm very, very passionate about, data. I think that it's still a little bit underutilized in the industry. There's a British mathematician, Clive Humby. He said something in 2006. He said that data is the new oil. And at the time, a lot of people, they thought, yes, it's the fuel, it's what's going to be fueling the industry. But in fact, what he meant is data, like oil, is useless in its raw state. And he went on to explain that it needs to be extracted, it needs to be processed, and it needs to be refined. And if you collect, thousands of records of data, hundreds of megabytes and gigabytes, unless you're giving value to the customer, unless you're using the right technologies and the right analytics, it's really not going to be used. So some of the new technologies and trends, relatively new. I mean, the technologies are not new, but the adoption is fairly new. You have data analytics as long as they touch the pain points. One of the key factors here is understanding the pains and solving that for them. And a lot of that happens through predictive analytics. AI learns and problem solves. This is one of the trending technologies now. Machine learning and predictive analytics, which uses machine learning to basically to do risk mitigation. So when the customer sees that you have all of these technologies and this richness of data, this gold mine of data can actually give value, then they get on board.
Do you think that it's critical for a large company to have roles that are dedicated to data analytics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to emphasize is you have to hire the right people. Again, if you have all that data and you don't know how to, so a lot of the technologies are already extracting this data for you, right? But what about processing and refining? If you don't have the right people, and we are lucky because construction over the last 20 years, project managers, project directors, 20 years ago, they used to be, the white-haired, suited up guys. They didn't believe in technology. They didn't believe in women in technology. But now, regardless, when you go to site and you have somebody who is younger and more familiar with the technologies and the different trends, it's so much easier to have a conversation, so much easier to get them on board. And hiring a data analyst, it's not a challenge anymore. It's just part of the process. There's still some companies that we find a lot of challenges with that, but absolutely, absolutely, it's something that we do need.
And I think beyond having somebody dedicated as well, it's upskilling everybody to become more data literate so that we're all starting to think in a more data-driven manner.
Constant education. This is something also, it's not only important on site, it's important in the whole industry. You need to educate people. A lot of people are just hesitant or resistant because they don't know. So educating the people, raising awareness, talking up about the different values and how technologies can make projects easier and all the benefits of lean, the whole initiative about lean, that it's been there for a while, bringing it into construction and making people understand that with these tools, you guys can become lean, you can reduce waste, and so on. Raising awareness and educating people, and this is an ongoing process.
And data has a lot to do with Industry 4.0, and Industry 4.0 is talked about at every digital construction summit we go to or event. How do you think companies can successfully align their Industry 4.0 strategies to their data strategy and indeed their technological implementation?
I love talking about Industry 4.0, even though now it's something that is being talked about more widely. It's actually something that started quite a while back, and BIM was one of the first technologies that started in construction. And I remember that we used to sit down and talk to the projects about the importance of BIM, and they used to say it doesn't matter. We have the engineering drawings, or we have the quantities coming from quantity surveying, and once BIM was mandated, people understood that at the beginning, okay, we have to use it. But then when the people actually got on site and we started, implementing BIM, and more importantly, integrating BIM with the different aspects in the industry, which is the broader scope, and a lot of the different technologies or strategies in 4.0, people started seeing the relevance. Industry standards, bringing the awareness, more importantly than actually having these standards, is engaging the stakeholders. Once you engage the stakeholders and you make them part of this initiative, and they are part of these companies. I'm not talking about people, coming in from the office. I'm talking about site personnel, people who are actually doing work on the ground. They get on board because they are part of the change. So this helps a lot.
I like the comment that you made about internal standards versus maybe industry standards and what's mandated as well, because we all have a responsibility to set a standard of excellence internally, and it shouldn't be that we're only keeping to what is mandated externally. It should be that we should always proactively be seeking to kind of raise the bar within this industry.
Absolutely. Internally, the thing is, making these changes and aligning with these strategies, it's not only about, an ISO standard. It's about the people, it's about the process, and it's, of course, about the tools. So while, you might find these standardization in a process or in a tool, the people are at the center of this. So you have to combine these three different factors, and you need to start inside. You need to start with your own team. You need to start with your own people, because if they're not on board internally, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Do you see a difference in how the companies that are managing larger, more complex projects are approaching change management, and how do you think they're, effectively ensuring project success through their management of data, for example, and the tech implementation? Is there a big difference, and is the difference then giving them that competitive edge and allowing the growth, whereas our SMBs kind of being capped because they're not maybe aligning themselves with the same approach as those larger enterprises?
Absolutely. One of the things that are that help to move things along these days are the mandates that are coming from owners and from the government. So whether this is here in the UAE, for example, or in KSA, mandates have just become, part of the daily run in a construction when you're bidding, when you're submitting your proposals. Now, the larger companies who have invested in innovation departments, they're hiring the right people, people of the generation that get it. These people are getting a competitive edge, because if they don't have the right tools and the right people, they're subcontracting it. Whether this is to a consultant, whether this is to, companies that provide software as a service, it absolutely makes a difference when you submit your proposal. Larger and more complex projects, I would say like over the last 15 years, the difference in design, the evolution of, the designs and the complexity of the projects, it's forcing people to understand that you cannot manage this like you used to. Mm-hmm. The manual ways are not going to cut it anymore. You need the tools, you need the data, and you need the people to manage all of this. A lot of it has been through failing and seeing that, they needed the extra help. They needed these technologies to help them. And luckily for us, even though we failed so many times and we were rejected so many times, but we did get to some of these larger companies. And, once you advertise it or raise awareness about it, other companies start to feel that they need to get on board, or it's just too late for them.
I imagine a lot of the listeners will probably be saying, that's a little bit of a silly question, Maddie, because our ability to be able to align ourselves and be more proactive hinges on investment. And obviously larger companies have greater pots of investment.
True.
But do you think that you are solely capped? Your ability to manage change effectively is solely capped by investment, because you don't necessarily have to buy every software solution out there to push that technological transformation. You just have to be strategic in your choice. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Of course, having, the enough funds helps a lot. But it's not, I don't think that you're capped by it to some extent. Like change, even if it's very small, it's still change. And all these, all the big changes and the big, challenges that we overcome, they have to start small. They have to start gradual. The challenges that we found with legacy systems, companies have had the same legacy systems for 50, 60 years. Construction industry is the slowest evolving industry. And even if you start small, like take the legacy system, find any tool, any process that mimics what it does, and bring it a little bit more towards the technology and the trending technologies that happen. There's so many tools out there. It's not only about being, picking out the best tools or the most expensive tools or these fancy ERP systems. Small change goes a long way in the industry. It helps, but I don't think that it caps us.
And I think that gives hope to the SMBs that they can break through that ceiling.
They can. A lot of companies don't have these large investment funds to go out and buy the best solutions. But again, if you have the right minds, if you have the right people, if you understand the challenges of change management, data, it's so abundant these days. You don't need fancy tools. AI is great and machine learning is great, but you have simple tools like Power BI that can do wonders for a small business.
Yeah. We've touched upon it during this episode, but we've also spoken about it off camera, and that's training programs and upskilling the workforce. Now, you've had a lot of involvement in terms of training programs in the past. I'd love to kind of delve a little bit deeper into that.
So one of the things that I feel helped me a lot with my team and also the people who I've met on the project, because you also have to bring awareness to the project team before you leave. You need to be very transparent. You need to be very patient. And you need to learn how to leverage each person's skill individually. So autonomy is very important. Before it used to be like, it's like one size fits all. Everybody has to do this really well. The difference these days is, even in the education system, by the time you are in high school, you can start choosing your preferences. What do you want to continue with? Are you a math person? Are you a physics person? And this now continues on into the industry. And I believe that giving people autonomy, giving them some breathing space to learn subjects that they're passionate about and then bring them into practice at work also helps a lot, as opposed to, just enforcing a specific onboarding or training curriculum at work.
I guess it's the difference between empowerment as well. Are you empowering your team?
Absolutely.
Or are you obliging them? to do certain things?
Look, I don't believe in obliging. You can oblige somebody to do something short term, but eventually, if it's not working, you're going to lose a lot of good people. When you have the good people that come by, you really want to empower them with the right tools and with enough space, with enough breathing space, to excel at what they do. You want to empower them with courses, online courses, expose them to events that might, broaden their knowledge about a specific topic that you want them to get deeper into. And the key here is to knowing, how you can encourage and empower each individual for the benefit of the company and the benefit of the team.
I think there's actually a lot of emphasis put on where our weaknesses lie and trying to develop the weakness and improve that, as opposed to focusing more on the strength and mapping your team strengths against one another, and then trying to find a strategy that will kind of work and, uplift the whole, everybody within that.
If you see the structure of my team, there's no two people who are good at the same thing. And they complement each other. And
that's the word, complement.
They do. They complement each other. And if you look at it as a holistic team, everybody brings something different to the table. And yes, you need to keep your eye out and make sure everybody's aligned and make sure that at the end of the day, there is one vision. Because, communication is key. Just getting people to communicate on a daily basis and understand and realign. But as you said, we don't want to focus on the weakness. We want to focus on the strength. And we want to make sure that we enable them and empower them to just keep on excelling at what they're good at.
Changing tact a little bit then. In the introduction, I obviously said that you were head of product management at WakeCap. I would love to explore as well, how do you navigate the challenges of product development within this industry? And have there been any key learnings that you've built up along the way?
Things have changed so much from the way we used to manage teams before. But at WakeCap, this is a very quickly evolving industry. You need to be agile. You need to be ready to learn every day. You need to be able to, implement these changes quickly. As slow as this growth was before, or this evolvement, as fast as it is today. So you need to be agile. You need to have open communication with all the departments, whether this is the engineering, whether this is the QA. You have to have a solid vision. You have to have a solid communication strategy with different teams. And you need to leverage the strength of each person in your team. And it's a continuous feedback. Pushing out products today is the easy part. Making the product usable is the challenge. So you have to have user-centric designs. You need to go to site. You need to listen to what your users want. You need to see. Sometimes they're going to tell you that your product doesn't work, and that's okay. Because you go back, you take the feedback, and you try to make something that does work. And then you keep on iterating this until you've actually developed a product that is of value in the market.
And feedback is so key.
It is.
And not enough software developers do it, I don't think. They don't go to site. They don't try and understand the pains of trying to use that system. And usability is something that we talk about a lot at Procore, but it's great that you've touched upon it then. Is it easy to use? And of course, that expedites the whole training process as well. And you get the internal buy-in because people see that they can immediately navigate the system. And that feedback, the continuous feedback as well that you mentioned, the loop, making sure that you don't just take feedback once and then that's it, because software evolves, this industry evolves.
So I'm a computer science graduate, and I started off my career as a software developer. And I still remember 4 months into it, I went to my boss and I said, I can't do this. I need to go out and I need to see, what am I developing these products? Who needs them? What am I doing it for? I want to go to the projects and I want to speak to these people. And even though it was tough, because I went to remote locations that used to take like 4-hour drives in Habshan Desert here in Abu Dhabi, but just sitting with them and hearing it from the foreman, and from the site engineer and from a timekeeper. Just talking to these people, it made the problem real. It made the product real. And you need to have that. You need to be on site. You need to be in front of the customer to understand the pains.
It's evident that you have an entrepreneurial mindset from everything that you've just said. How do you think that's really helped to shape your career?
I think that you have to believe that you're not going to make it on the first go. You have to try and try. There's some stuff that helped me along the way. For example, we didn't have a product team when I first started my career. I was so young, I didn't even know the difference. Like, we were all just a bunch of software developers, people who were writing requirements, people who were talking to site. And I helped shape that structure in the company and the process in the company. And that went on to develop into having a massive implementation team and a massive product department. And I kind of did this a couple of times in my career. Also, one of the first market products that I released, we were a startup at the time as well, and we built something from scratch for lean construction methods. And WakeCap, my most recent position in WakeCap, I actually knew the CEO Hassan before they started WakeCap. And I saw, and I was like, and I was really interested in where this could go. And I had a lot of faith that when they got to the right point in their technology, that we could take it really, really far. And that's when I joined WakeCap. And I said, I pulled up my sleeves and I said, let's do this. Because you have to have that, sense of adventure. And you need to take a risk. And it either works or it doesn't, but you have to take the plunge. Even on my in my personal life, I did have my own startup here in Dubai. It was very different. It was about health, healthy foods, healthy treats. But I do love to see things, just build them from ground up.
Well, as they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Try
again, absolutely.
Yeah. And don't allow that fear of failure to hold you back.
Because there's especially in construction, there's so many times where I said, this is not going to work, and you sometimes you do feel helpless, but then somehow you're like, you get that push and you say, no, it's not working this way. You're going to have to try it in another way. And I think that having a lot of people like that has brought the biggest change to the industry. People that believe that it could happen. And yeah, I'm happy that I was able to, be in the right place at the right time to get on this wave.
I think you may have answered my last question. However, I'm going to ask it because I'm interested to see if it evolves a little bit. And that would be, if you were to give advice to anybody looking to enter this industry. And I think, having listened to you today, there would be a lot of little girls and little boys that may start considering this as being a real world career prospect. What would that advice be?
You need to follow your heart. Don't be afraid. Don't be held back by the stigma. There's still, till today, there's a lot of stigma around a woman being in construction. And if you don't follow your heart, and you don't follow what you believe in, you're just missing out. It's never too late to make changes. If you try something and it doesn't work, you can always try something new. And I know that sounds, being in this industry for so long is because I really did believe that we could make a change. I failed numbers of times. We failed over and over again, especially that when we started, we used to go out with beta releases, alpha releases, and people used to say, well, why are you bringing out these products that don't even work? But they can do it. It's not that they might fail, they will fail, and that's okay. Every step is closer to understanding where you went wrong and what you need to do to succeed.
Salpie, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I'm feeling incredibly inspired. I think there's not enough women in construction speaking about their journey, and there's been some massive challenges that you've faced because of your agenda. But irrelevant of that, your successes alone stand in, complete admiration, honestly.
Thank you so much.
And I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Genuinely, I'll be keeping a close eye on you.
It's been a pleasure, honestly. And thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. You take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.